My name is William Camargo. I'm a photo-based artist based out of Anaheim, California. I make work around gentrification, displacement. My work is usually performative, as well landscape, portrait work.
Thank you so much, William. It's a great pleasure to have you here talking to me about Juan Brenner's book, Tonatiuh. Can you tell me, first of all, what inspired you to choose this book?
It's been one of my favorite books in the last once. Tonatiuh is a word that I heard too growing up, going to Mexico. Usually, where my parents are from is South Mexico, so there is kind of some resonance with that word as well in Mexico. And
so, on the one hand, the book is called Tonatiuh, which is the name that the Mayans used for Pedro de Alvarado. And I love that it's spelled multiple ways in the back of the book, again, kind of taking away his power. He's not called by his Spanish name. He's called what the Mayans called him. I think that's an important shift.
Yeah, exactly. Conquistadors wanted gold-filled Guatemala and never really found it. It's a great image to start off.
The second pair, is the place where Alvarado first entered Guatemala, and we wonder if that's the past or the present when looking at the image.
He was traveling through Guatemala and wanted to hit certain spots that Pedro was reaching, and the left is a place that a lot of trauma happened, a lot of violence. I see ghosts and I see the Mayan people still living there, but
I like the pairing too, where we have an absence in the left and then a presence of the tree in the right, where it's almost the inverse of one image to the next. Maybe we should say too here that these interludes of text are drawn from historic documents, both those that were written by the conquistadors and Spanish friars. And I think there are some records transcribed from Mayan people too. One thing that you and I are both drawing on are the descriptions that Brenner's included in the back of the book. And that's another piece of this incredible, the richness of this book. He's described many of the images and given a lot of this history that he discovered in making the project, including the fact that the Mayans who lived in Guatemala before Alvarado arrived were decorating their teeth using materials like jade. This valuation of gold doesn't come about until the conquistadors are looking for it.
The white horse definitely is horses, again, they were not, known to be native of Guatemala. Again, bringing this idea that a white horse and this white man was coming in, and they saw him as a god, right? And we see these stories like all over Brazil as well when the Portuguese came. And this white horse is therefore very emblematic of that. I think these are just great images. And this kind of roller coaster looking thing, and then just the portrait at the right is also just straightforward, and I think he was looking at Thomas Struth a lot, and those photographers definitely see that kind of influence seep into, and again the gold just comes in, maybe being the kind of punctum of the image.
And again, he's really nice working with composition and mirroring really nicely here. We have the shape of the necklace that mirrors the shape of the roller coaster at the left. And, when you close the book up, this young man is facing the roller coaster and he kind of fits right into it like it's a frame. And it reminds me of just how important landscape is to this story, because it, as much as the people, hold the history of what happened to this land.
Yeah, and he's a byproduct of that history as well. This last image, it took me to how my father, sometimes dresses. He actually has a New York Yankee hat as well, and even though we're so far away from New York, again, that kind of colonial Yankee idea, and those bananas, you see them all over my neighborhood as well. I love the way he didn't include his face as well. It just the red bandana, the hat, and the blue of his shirt. You get to insert someone, and I think he knows that he wants you to make that connection. Just like how I made a connection that this could be my father, this could be an uncle.
The color of the bandana makes me think a little bit more about the color of the covers too. Like we've both said, and I've heard other people say this too, that like you can't miss this book. The orange cover, the design is incredible. But I think it must also have meaning that it's not just the gold, and it's not just the red of the rivers of blood, but I think it's a combination of the two.
And the many names for Tonatiuh. Let's see. Definitely read the interview. I think it has great insight of Juan's process as well. And the notes too. They're very personal too. And I think this was one way to look at the history. He talked about they asked him about is this a history that belongs to you as well, and it's kind of we're thinking about the histories, the counter histories, and counter narratives that get left out of history books as well. And I think that's one way of him figuring out the history of his own country.
Yeah. Well, this was a wonderful book. Thank you so much for taking the time to look at it with me.
Definitely, it's one of my favorites, and I'm gonna keep looking at it again and again.